Sup, duder? I'm Leon, the Paperback Maniac, coming at you with the latest vintage paperback horror haul. Been picking up a few titles over the past month or so, or since whenever I did the last video, and I thought it was time to share. So without further ado, let's get right to it. The first book we're taking a look at, one I have owned in the past, Night Show by Dick Lehman. This book, this is the Tor edition from 1986. A classic cover there, one of my favorites. I've always dug this cover, and oddly, never owned a copy until now. In my last haul, I showed kind of the recent hardcover special edition of this book, and that's what kind of reminded me about it. It's a fun book, nothing too great. It's perfectly, mid-grade layman, but really happy to add this Tor edition to the collection. Next up, we've got a book called Forget Me Not by Jean Lazuda. And this is a diamond suspense novel, as it indicates on the spine there, because this was published in '92, and horror was a little, not as popular as it had been a few years before. I'm sure this would have been marketed as a horror novel even 2 or 3 years before, but not in 1992. But looks pretty cool. I do dig that artwork on the front. Next up, this is a true gem, if I've ever seen one. We've got here The Hiding Place by J. Robert Janes. I believe this completes, sadly, my J. Robert Janes collection. I'm almost sad that I think I have all of the books of this person. I don't know if it's a man or woman, honestly, but all of the editions of this author's books are amazing. I've shown them. They're all paperbacks editions, as this one is. This was published in 1984. Amazing. And yeah, they all are great. And yeah, they look like a lot of fun. And they seem to be well written too. So I'm stoked to check out J. Robert Janes. Okay, next up is a book I'm pretty intrigued and excited about. This is The Dreaming by Robert D. Sansucci, and this was published by Berkeley in 1989. And although the cover is really nothing to write home about, apparently this is a really good book. I think it's about a succubus, and some people rave about it. I think one person on Twitter said it was like their favorite book or something crazy. But it looks intriguing, so I'm definitely interested in checking it out. Seems pretty cool. Next up, we've got Nathaniel by John Saul. It's kind of interesting. I have so many vintage horror paperbacks, yet I have very few, if any. I think I don't have any John Saul books at the moment. I did read him when I was an undergraduate. Actually, when I was studying abroad at the University of York, I had a paperback copy of a John Saul novel called, I think it was called Second Child. It had a really cool cover, but yeah, I read this thing overseas, and it was just very basic. It just seemed very kind of neutered and basic, and I don't know, it didn't have any sort of edge whatsoever. But I am willing to give him, another shot, and I think this is one of his more well-known books, and it's got a cool image there. So thought I would give it a shot. It was pretty cheap. There was like a sale going on when I got that. Next up, hopping over the pond to the UK, we've got The Sanctuary by Glenn Chandler. I have like one or two. I definitely have some other Glenn Chandler books from the UK. Other Hamlin titles, I believe. This was published by Hamlin in 1981. Yeah, I love the Hamlin books of this period. They're just amazing. I really love just the binding and the way they're always in good condition. I never get a Hamlin book that's like in shitty condition like I do with like these like other like pocket books and stuff. Like the Hamlin, the way that they bind them is like makes it they're super like durable, and I never see them really like in shitty shape, which is nice. So okay, next up, we've got a book called Ghostfire with a really cool cover. This has been popping up lately. I've seen some places, and this was written by Sharon B. Pape, and it was published by Pocket in 1983. Yeah, so pretty cool. Thought definitely should check that one out. And then next we've got a book called Dead Rush by Yvonne Navarro. And this was published by Bantam, not Del Abyss. When I saw this thing on the bookshelf, I was sure it was a Del Abyss title. It just looks like one, and it feels like one. Like, it just seems like it could have been a Del Abyss book. And it was even published around that time. This came out from Bantam in 1995. I'm pretty sure Del Abyss was still around then. Maybe it was like a rejected one, or maybe Bantam. Yeah, Bantam seems kind of similar in some ways, actually, in their like choice in their lineup to Del Abyss and the kinds of books that they published, like Skip Inspector. I could have definitely seen some of that stuff. It's in that same mode, but yeah, this one. So yeah, 1995, right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the 90s. Okay, then we got a couple of hardcover books. We've got The Devil's Gamble, a novel of demonology. This is written by Frank G. Slaughter. Fucking gnarly name. And this came out, it was published by Doubleday in 1977. And yeah, it's a pretty gnarly demon there, devil creature on the front. So yeah, why not? Check it out. And then the other hardcover we've got, this is one that I've wanted for like years, actually, and I can't believe it's taken me this long. It's The Nanny by Dan Greenberg, very interestingly published in hardcover. It was put out by Macmillan in 1987, and of course, adapted into the William Friedkin movie from like 1990 or 89, I think 90 maybe, The Guardian, which is just a very interesting kind of mark on Friedkin's filmography. I love it. I think it's great. It's just ridiculous, very cheesy and just very earthy. But yeah, I dig it, and I was always very curious to see. I know it was changed drastically from the source material here. I don't think there was any like Wiccan or like none of that New Age stuff in the book, if I'm not. But we'll see. It seems like a fun story anyway, and I'm definitely intrigued and excited to check out this original story of it. Okay, next is a book that I've had before, but a really good edition of The Ashes of Tamar by Elizabeth Wade. This is an early Zebra book. It was first published in 1978. This is the reprint from the second printing from 1980. But yeah, really good edition. So I just thought I'd pick it up. And inside is a bookmark to the Iliad bookshop. Great bookshop. Okay, and then another one that I found that I already had, but it was in a great shape, is Ghoul by Michael Slade. This one was published by Signet in 1989. Super pumped to read this. Seems right up my alley. Yeah. Next is a book I had never heard of, but this sounds really intriguing. This is Otherworld, a dark fantasy novel by Kenneth C. Flint. And this was published by Bantam Spectra in 1992. So yeah, Bantam Spectra was, they're still putting out these cool, like, supernatural fantasy kind of centered horror novels in the early 90s. And yeah, I don't know, seems interesting. And then I found an original reading copy of Bad Brains by Kathy Koja. I thought this was kind of interesting. I mean, also it was in like immaculate condition, and yeah, super cheap. And I thought, okay, so that's cool. It's like an ARC, and this was put out by Del Abyss in 1992. This was her follow-up to her much touted first or debut novel, The Cipher. I've read that one. I've not read this one. I'm eager to get to it. Seems cool. Then we've got a book called The Devil's Footsteps. This was written by John Burke and published by Popular Library in 1978. Kind of just a random pickup in the store. And then I found a really nice looking copy of Night Things, a book that I had but was kind of beat up, I believe. This is by Thomas F. Monteleone, and it was published by Popular Library in 1980. This seems like a really cool really cool idea, and I think that he's a writer that I'll dig, like on a stylistic level too, possibly. Next, another one that I've purchased, but just when I see these like in good condition, I just get them, even if I already have them. This is Penance by Rick R. Reed, and this is a Delibes book that I'm super. This is maybe one of the more intriguing Delibes titles for me, and I'm really like I think I'm gonna push this one up on the list as one to get to sooner rather than later. This one was published in 1993, and yeah, I mean, just that cover is kind of haunting, right? And it's, now that I look at it, I don't know, is it a gauze cover? Like I'm obsessed with gauze covers, but yeah, pretty cool edition. And I thought, yeah, good to have an extra one, you know? Okay, next up is a book called To Bury the Dead, one that I was not familiar with at all. It is written by Craig Spector, one half of the awesome Skip and Spector, a splatterpunk duo of the late, like the 80s. And they published a few books together, really, you know, cool books and edgy and well written and smart. And but I haven't read. I've read some John Skip stuff, but I've never read any just Craig Spector stuff. So I don't know. I was always kind of curious about him. I heard like different things about like the duo and like who did what, but I'm really curious to read what Craig Spector does on his own. And the insert is nothing special, but this was published, of course, published in 2000, I believe. So that would explain it. Came out in 2000 by Harper Torch. Must have been a kind of like a ephemeral imprint of Harper Collins, maybe. I don't know, but. And then this one has a cool insert, or a cool die cut cover. This is The Sentinel by Jeffrey Konvitz. It was published by Ballantine in 1976. And when I saw this, when I picked it up, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But this is really what sold me. That's just pretty cool. I was like, all right, I gotta pick that up for a couple bucks, right? So yeah, I've never seen. This is the one that the film is based off, right? I've never seen the film, so I should read that and then see it. Okay, and then next up we've got a copy of The Ritual by J.N. Williamson. This is the BMI Leisure edition from 1987. Though this book was published first way back in 1979. I had the 1982 Leisure reprint of it, and this is yet another one. Well, this is from BMI, but this has got a pretty cool cover, and it's nice to throw another, add another J.N. Williamson paperback to the J.N. Williamson collection, which is, you know, fun, and he's got some great editions and great covers. Okay. Next up is a book called Reaper. Not too sure about this. It was written by C. Terry Klein Jr., published by Berkeley in 1991, though it looks like it first came out in 1989. And this one is, yeah, 1991. Interesting. It looks like it would be later than that. It's just nothing interesting on the inside, just some blurbs, which I guess is kind of rare. But, yeah, that's that. And then I picked up this book, Cain. It was just kind of like an impulse this is written by James Byron Huggins, published by Pocket Star Books in 1990. I don't know if it's 98, I think, which, yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know, this could be fun. I do like stuff from the 90s. And then I picked up another copy of Ramsey Campbell's The Influence. This is just I love glorious Tor edition here. This edition was published in 1989 by Tor and has one of my absolute favorite insert covers there. I mean, so awesome, right? Just beautiful. And Ramsey Campbell is great. I want to read another full-length novel of his, or at the very least read some more stories. And then, okay, the penultimate one, we've got Dying Breath by John A. Harold, which I think may be a pseudonym for two writers, Harold Schechter and Jonna Gormley Semakes, because they are the ones who are copyright attributed inside. But this was published by, gosh, I don't know if I wrote it in here. I don't know. doesn't matter. Pocketbooks in 1992. So cool. Looks like a cool cover. Slightly gauzy to suit my taste. And then finally, got this kind of omnibus edition of Bad Dreams by Kim Newman. This was originally published, Bad Dreams was published, I believe, in 1990. I got this edition from Titan Books. This is a 2014 reprint because it contained an additional novel or novella called Bloody Students, and I was curious about that one. And then when I got it, I realized that Bloody Students is just a retitle of a book that I already owned called Orgy of the Blood Parasites. So it's completely unnecessary for me to order this edition, but you know, whatever, that's fine. I'm super excited to read Kim Newman's fiction. He wrote this one under the pseudonym Jack Yeovil, but yeah, Bad Dreams seems cool. It seems pretty fun. So anyway, that is the haul, guys. That's the update. Hope you enjoyed watching it. If you have read any of those books or have anything to say about them, feel free to drop a line below. And stay tuned for the next video, whenever that may come. I'm been a little slower lately because I've been like super busy with work. I haven't been reading as much, but there should be another book review coming pretty soon. So always be on the lookout for that. And yeah, until I see you next time, take it easy. Peace.